Hi, I'm Kevin Hatley and welcome to Kevin Hatley Photography in my office. This is a channel that I've set up to share my experiences of wildlife and nature with others. So let's go. The name snipe is derived from the verb to snipe, and it actually originated way back in the 18th century among soldiers who used to shoot snipe for food. Because of its fantastic camouflage colours, its ability to blend into the background, to hide itself, very difficult to see, and its very erratic flight behaviour once in flight, it was very difficult to shoot. And hence the term, or was born, the sniper. That's where the name comes from. If we take all those factors into consideration and the habitat that the snipe live in, and we'll look at that in a bit later, it's one thing being able to find them, observe them, and it's another one to photograph them. So what I want to do in this video is share with you my knowledge and my experience of photographing a snipe. And what we'll do is we'll look at how to identify them, we'll look at their habitat, where we can find them, we'll look at some of the behaviour, some of the lifestyle. I'll then take you through my approach to photographing snipe, and what I'll do is I'll share some top tips with you along the way. Here in the UK we have two members of the snipe family, the common snipe and the jack snipe, and that's what we'll look at next, is how to tell the difference between the two, the common snipe and the jack snipe. Okay, the first one we're going to look at is the common snipe. It's a short, stocky built bird. It's got a brown back with broad cream stripes on it. It's white underneath. It's got short legs. It's got a very long bill, which is a real characteristic of the bird, and it's about 6 inches tall, and that's quite important because that's really advantageous for the snipe in short grass, and you'll see in video, throughout the video, just how small they are and they blend in. When it comes to the snipe's call, first of all, you're more likely to hear one before you actually see one or spot one. Snipe have a number of calls, alarms and songs, including which they're well renowned for drumming during the breeding season, which is basically the male bird vibrating its tail feathers in the wind. The most common call of the snipe is as follows. Moving on to the jack snipe. Overall, the jack snipe is a lot shorter than the common snipe. Recognition features of the jack snipe are that it's got a shorter bill, it's got shorter wings, it's got a shorter tail, and it has a bold yellow stripe down its back. Jack snipe, when they're feeding, tend to bounce up and down, and that's a real telltale sign of a jack snipe. If you're struggling to tell the difference between the two and you see a bird bouncing up and down as it's feeding, the likelihood is that it is a jack snipe. And the call, as you're about to hear, is different to the common snipe. When it comes to telling the difference between the male and the female snipe, for both the common and the jack, it's very difficult to tell the difference. But generally, females tend to be or have longer bills than the males, and the tail feathers on the females tend to be slightly longer as well. So it is quite difficult to tell the difference between the two of them. Just going to show you a short clip now to give you a comparison of the size of the common snipe against your general ducks, which you'll see in the background. Okay, tip number 5 is autumn. Snipe tend to move from the upland moorland areas down into the lower lying areas in quite some numbers. The UK population can rise from something like 60,000 plus to over 1 million birds, with migrants coming into the country from the continent during the autumn. That then gives you a more increased probability of encountering snipe and getting the chances that you need to photograph the bird, if you can find them. And on that point, where are you going to find snipe? Have a look at this picture, and can you tell me how many snipe you can see in this picture? I'll give you a couple of seconds and then I'll give you my answer. Well, my answer is I counted 10. If somebody's got a magnifying glass and they can find more than that, then please leave a comment for me down below. Snipe are mainly found in freshwater wetland areas. Areas like marshes, bogs, moorland and on farmland. Okay, what I want to do is just take a little time out to give you a look forward to a new series that I'm going to be doing 2023-2024, and it's all got to do with migrant visitors to the UK during the winter, the spring, the summer and the autumn. So look forward to a new series coming up from Kevin Hatley Photography on migrant visitors to the UK. And now back to the video. Tip number 4 is to look for areas of shallow water, especially around the edges of the habitat that they prefer to live in, around the edges of shorelines and islands. That is predominantly where they're going to search for the food source, and that is where they'll spend their time searching for food. So look for shallow water areas. When it comes to the snipe's diet, the majority of the food is actually found in muddy shallows. They'll probe the wet soil with the bills to locate the food sources, which consists of the following. Mainly things like insects, larvae, earthworms, which make up something like 60% of their diet, and mollusks. Point to note is the snipe's bill is very flexible. It's full of nerves, which it uses as its probe. It's a bit like if you watch it, it's a bit like a sewing machine needle bobbing up and down. It's a very flexible bill, and I'll show you a little short clip and a picture just to show you how flexible the snipe's bill is. Tip number 3 is binoculars. Get yourself a pair of binoculars if you're trying to find snipe. Keep saying it's one thing finding a location, it's another thing actually finding them. Therefore, you need a pair of binoculars so that you can scan the ground to try and find them. And remember, they're only 6 inches tall, and once they get into that grass, it's very difficult to find them. So you're going to need a pair of binoculars, I would suggest, to try and help you to search for them on the ground. Okay, moving on to my approach to photographing the snipe. First thing you need to know about snipe is when you try to photograph them or to get near them, is that if you do get too near them, they will explode, and that's the term to use, into flight when they're disturbed from the ground. Common snipe will often fly off in a high zigzag pattern in an erratic flight, and then they're gone. Whereas the jack snipe tend to crouch on the ground, stay still, remain silent, relying on the camouflage to keep them out of view, and then all of a sudden they'll take off, normally in a straight line, but they will be silent. They don't make a noise like the common snipe does. So that's the sort of things you need to be aware of when you're trying to photograph snipe. So that then leads me into tip number 2. And tip number 2 is be aware of what's immediately in front of you and what's at your feet. More often than not, you'll find that snipe can be very close to you. Remember, they're only 6 inches tall, and they can really blend in with the grass, as you've seen in some of the video that I've shown you. So the first area to search really, and again, tip number 3 was about binoculars, is to search the ground in front of you to see if there are any snipe about. Don't ignore that area, because the first thing you might know is what I've just said about the snipe. If you disturb them, get too close to them, they'll just explode into flight and then they're gone, resulting in your lost opportunity in getting the photograph of the snipe that you were after. When it comes to camera settings for photographing snipe, I set my autofocus to continuous or servo on Canon. I set it to the highest frame rate, and I use Spot AF, which is the Canon, the single point autofocus indicator. And that's because of the fact that because the snipe is so well camouflaged within its habitat, you've got to be able to get onto the bird, and that single point should get you the focus that you need to get the pictures that you're after. So what sort of settings do I use? Well, if I've got my camera supported on a beanbag or on a tripod, and you're looking at a stationary bird, I'm looking at a shutter speed of about 1/250th of a second. I shoot wide open on my Canon 100 to 500, which is f7.1, and I always use auto ISO. If a bird's on the ground and it's moving about, I'm going to raise my shutter speed up to about 1,000th of a second. Again, f7.1 and auto ISO. Now, for snipe in flight, the best opportunities you're going to get for photographing snipe in flight is when they're taking off or when they're landing. And for that, I'll raise my shutter speed up to about 1/2000th of a second. I'll close my aperture slightly down to f8, and again, I'll shoot on auto ISO. So that leaves us at tip number one. Tip number one is all about patience. Just like I stated at the beginning of the video, when I explained how the term sniper came about, when you're looking to photograph snipe, you need to be patient. You really need to be patient. And you need to have the patience of a sniper. You need to have the observation skills of a sniper. Combine those together with patience, and you should be able to get the photographs that you're after of the snipe. So, tip number one, patience. Okay, thanks for watching this edition of Kevin Hatley Photography and how to photograph the snipe. I'm sure you can see that they're fantastic birds. Their camouflage is second to none. And as I said, it's one thing finding them, one thing seeing them, and it's another thing photograph them. And I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. All I would ask is that if you've liked it, could you hit the like button? Could I also ask you to subscribe to my channel, Kevin Hatley Photography, if you've not already done so. It's completely free, it doesn't cost anything. And what it does is, it helps me to improve my channel and share with others my experiences of photographing wildlife and nature. So, until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.